Mitchell, because for me, this is like a last resort scenario. Now, I don't think it's a last resort. This is not me saying that it should be a want. It should be a thing they should do, because I think Kelsey Mitchell has absolutely earned the opportunity to stick with his franchise for another season at least. But we do have to talk about it because we're now at a stage.
That right there is the conversation nobody in Indiana wants to have. But we're past the point of avoiding it. Kelsey Mitchell just made all WNBA first team. She's coming off a playoff performance where she literally played until the wheels fell off against Connecticut. And now the Fever might have to trade her. Not because she's not good enough, because she might be too expensive.
She just made an all WNBA first team, and that is a massive thing. That is massive. Like, there have been 2 Fever guards since Tamika Catchings to have made an all W first team, and she's one of them. She is one of them. Like, it is a massive, massive thing. Like, she was one of the best guards in W last year. Some of the things that she did were almost superhuman.
Only 2 Fever guards since Tamika Catchings have made all WNBA first team. Kelsey Mitchell is one of them. The other is Caitlin Clark. That's the level we're talking about here. This isn't some role player the Fever are debating. This is a legitimate star who just proved she belongs in the conversation with the best guards in the league. But here's the problem. The Supermax is about $100,000 more than the regular max. And that difference could be what keeps them from retaining a critical role player down the line.
Score, which every team kind of needs. Problem is that sometimes she kind of overly relies on that isolation scoring, even when it's not late shot clock, shoots those shots too early. And why you would get rid of her? Added depth. Added depth. Like, it is difficult by the looks of things in the new CBA. I think it'll be a little bit easier with the contract the players actually sign.
Let's talk about why this is even a conversation. Depth. The Fever's biggest weakness isn't their starting 5. It's what happens when Kelsey or Caitlin sits down. The new CBA is expected to raise the salary cap to at least $7 million, maybe higher, depending on whether the league gets their $10 million target or the players get their $11 million demand. But even with that increase, a Supermax contract limits your flexibility. And the Fever aren't exactly known for making smart moves in free agency or the draft.
Imagine Odyssey Sims plays on a minimum. I think Odyssey Sims is Kelsey Mitchell light. And she's not as good as Kelsey Mitchell, but like, I think if she went played with Caitlin, she could play the Kelsey Mitchell role. And we also saw in the Atlanta Dream game, when the Fever won the second half by like 30 points, that Ari McDonald playing Kelsey Mitchell's position beside Caitlin Clark, when Ari McDonald played the 2, that those two can work really well together. So you do need, like, any sort of a live wire scorer or 2 guard can fit beside Caitlin Clark. But Kelsey Mitchell is clearly the best of those players.
Here's where it gets tricky. Kelsey Mitchell is losing her last core designation year. She can walk in free agency after next season, so the Fever have exactly 1 year to figure this out. Do they pay her the Supermax and hope they can build around 3 expensive players? Do they offer the regular max and pray she takes it? Or do they trade her now while her value is at its peak and get assets they can actually control for multiple years? Because if they don't make a decision, she walks for nothing in 2026. 0 return, just gone.
Next year, Caitlin Clark the following year. So you have to prep for that. And if you're not prepping for these players coming off their rookie scale deals, then I think you're just going to be left behind. Like, you have to prep for these players coming off rookie scale deals. And I don't know how many teams and players are prepping for that, but I think it is really important. So you've got that, and I also think you can get a king's ransom for Kelsey Mitchell. Like,
Aliyah Boston comes off her rookie scale deal next year. Caitlin Clark the year after. The Fever have to prepare for those extensions right now, not when the contracts expire. And if they're not thinking 3 years ahead, they're going to get left behind. This is where front office competence matters. You can't just hope it works out. You need a plan. And based on the Fever's track record with roster construction, planning ahead hasn't exactly been their strength.
Seattle, and you get the 3rd pick on top of that, because Seattle might be going for it. Seattle might think that Kelsey Mitchell is like a really good player. If not, like, you're looking at player, I'm trying to think of high picks. Minnesota have the 2 pick. Like, if you go to Minnesota and you're like, okay, we want pick number 2. We want we want pick 2. We want Who do they have really? That's of note. Anastasia Kosu and a 2027 first. I don't know if they still have the 2027 first, but like some pick.
So let's play this out. What could the Fever actually get for Kelsey Mitchell? Some people are saying Sonia Citron and a pick from Washington. That's not realistic. Not for an all-WNBA first-team guard in her prime. You're looking at a haul. Seattle has the 3rd pick in the draft. What if the Fever could get that pick plus Gabby Williams in a core and trade? Williams might be just as good a fit for this team, and you'd add a top 3 prospect on a cost-controlled rookie deal. That's the kind of return that makes this conversation worth having.
Like, is a cost-controlled 4 years of AZ Fudd? Like, is that worth it for the Fever to make? Like, they're the questions you have to think about. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, my opinion is you keep Kelsey Mitchell, but it's not that straightforward. It's absolutely not that straightforward. Like, for Dallas, they're going to try to throw Arike in that deal. And it's like, no, you just let Arike fucking walk. We don't want Arike. Heck, fuck it. Give us Arike. Give us Arike in 1.
Or look at Minnesota. They have the 2nd overall pick. What if Indiana calls and says we want pick number 2, Anastasia Kozik, and a 2027 first-rounder? That's 3 assets for 1 player. Or Dallas. They're desperate to move on from Arik Ogunbowale's contract situation. What if the Fever take on Arik and get the 1st overall pick plus Aziaha James? Suddenly you've got Caitlin Clark feeding Arik, who absolutely becomes an all-star again in that system. And you have 4 years of cost-controlled Aziaha James, who could be the best 6th woman in the league.
You're looking at it and you're like, okay, do we bring in a player that we feel like is going to play right away? Like, do we consider using that 10th pick and like a Dugalich? Which is a crazy reach, but I'm like, a power forward who comes right in. Look, I think Janiah Barker is just out of the question because of all the discipline issues. I think you can risk a 3rd on her. A 3rd round pick. I think she might make a roster. She has the talent to. But like, you try look overseas to see.
Here's the thing that makes this so complicated. Caitlin Clark likes playing with Kelsey Mitchell. That matters. Mitchell can play off the ball when she wants to. She can be a secondary shot creator in late clock situations. Every championship team needs that player who can get their own shot when the offense breaks down. Mitchell does that, but she also has a tendency to force isolation, scoring even when it's not the right time. Those early shot clock pull-ups that make you crunch your face? Yeah, those happen too often.
Hello on. So, look, it just depends. For me, I'm entertaining offers for Kelsey Mitchell at post core. I'm not doing it, and I think the reality is that like you probably don't make the trade. You realistically don't make the trade. And I think making the trade is still like a last case or a last resort type thing. That being said, it's not a simple thing of, oh, you have to keep her. Because I think...
Let's talk about what this team looks like if they trade Kelsey. You could bring in Odyssey Sims on a minimum contract. She's Kelsey Mitchell light. Not as good, but she can run that same role next to Caitlin. Or remember that Atlanta game where the Fever won the second half by 30 points? Erica Wheeler was playing the 2-guard spot next to Caitlin. Those two worked really well together. You don't need an all-WNBA guard next to Caitlin Clark to win games. You need someone competent who can shoot and move without the ball. That player is easier to find than you think. And this is where we get to the uncomfortable truth about the Indiana Fever's situation. This franchise isn't good at anything except having Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston on the roster. They're not good at drafting. They're not good at free agency. Their coach doesn't develop young players. So the margin for error is razor thin. They can't afford to waste money on a supermax contract if it means losing the depth pieces that actually make this team functional. Think about what happened in the playoffs. Kelsey Mitchell played her heart out. Nobody is questioning her effort or her talent. But the Fever lost because they had no bench. They had no defensive versatility. They had no backup plan when the starting 5 got tired. That's a roster construction problem. And giving Kelsey Mitchell a supermax doesn't solve roster construction problems, it makes them worse. Now here's the part that's going to make Fever fans angry. Kelsey Mitchell has absolutely earned the right to get paid. She's been loyal to this franchise through some terrible seasons. She's developed into an elite scorer. She just made all WNBA first team. If any player deserves the supermax, it's her. But deserving something and it being the right basketball decision are two different things. and the Fever have to make a basketball decision, not an emotional one. Let's look at the free agency market. The Fever could buy low on Myisha Hines-Allen. Her reputation is in the gutter right now after a disappointing season, but she was a near-max player just a year ago. Same with Beck Allen. Both of those players could be had for cheap, and both would fit what the Fever need. Versatile forwards who can defend multiple positions and shoot from the corners. That's how you build depth, not by paying one player a supermax and praying the rest of the roster falls into place. The draft is another option. The Fever have the 10th pick. That's not high enough to get a guaranteed star, but it's high enough to find a rotation player who can contribute immediately. Someone like Dominique Malonga, who's a stretch four that can come in and play right away. Or you look overseas. Ileana Rupert just got drafted by the Valkyries. The Fever should have traded for her months ago. She's exactly what they need. Size, shooting, mobility, defense, but they didn't see the value. That's the problem with this front office. Here's what keeps me up at night about this situation. The Fever's goal should not be 2026 or bust. It should be building a sustainable contender around Caitlin Clark for the next decade. And I don't think signing Kelsey Mitchell to a supermax helps that goal. Not because Kelsey isn't good enough, but because the Fever aren't good enough at everything else. They need flexibility. They need assets. They need multiple bites at the apple to get this roster right. Compare this to what Golden State did in the NBA. They had Stephen Curry, the best player in franchise history, but they didn't just surround him with expensive veterans. They drafted well. They found value in free agency. They made smart trades. They built a system that could absorb injuries and roster turnover. The Fever don't have that infrastructure, so they need to be smarter with their money than a well-run organization would have to be. And here's the thing about Kelsey Mitchell's trade value. It's never going to be higher than it is right now. She just made All-WNBA first team. She's 28 years old, still in her prime. She has 1 year left before free agency, so teams know they're not just renting her for a season. If the Fever wait until the trade deadline next year, her value drops. If they let her walk in free agency, they get nothing. The time to move her, if they're going to move her, is this offseason. But let's be clear about something. This should be a last resort. The Fever should absolutely try to sign Kelsey Mitchell to the regular max first. If she's willing to take slightly less than the supermax to help the team build around her, Caitlin and Aaliyah, then you keep her. No question. The problem only exists if she demands the supermax. And honestly, she'd be justified in demanding it. She's earned it. But that doesn't mean the Fever have to say yes. So what's the right answer here? I genuinely don't know. And I think that's what makes this such a fascinating situation. There's no clear right or wrong. You can make a strong argument for keeping Kelsey Mitchell and paying her whatever she wants. You can also make a strong argument for trading her and using those assets to build a deeper, more balanced roster. Both paths have merit. Both paths have risk. What I do know is this. The Fever can't afford to be sentimental. They can't afford to make decisions based on loyalty or feelings. They have to look at this coldly and ask themselves one question. Does paying Kelsey Mitchell a supermax give us the best chance to win a championship in the next 5 years? If the answer is yes, you pay her and figure out the rest. If the answer is no, you trade her for the best package you can get, and you move on. My gut says they keep her, not because it's the smartest basketball move, but because trading an All-WNBA first-team player who just carried you through the playoffs is a PR nightmare. Fever fans would revolt. Caitlin Clark would be pissed. It would send the wrong message to the locker room. So they'll probably pay Kelsey the supermax, hope the salary cap goes up enough to give them flexibility, and pray they can find cheap role players who can fill the gaps. But if I'm being honest, if I'm the Fever GM, I'm at least making the phone call to Seattle about that third pick. I'm asking Minnesota what they'd give up for an All-WNBA guard. I'm exploring every option before I commit a supermax to a third player, because once you sign that contract, you're locked in. There's no going back. And if it doesn't work, you've wasted the prime years of Caitlin Clark's career. So here's my question for you. If you're running the Fever, what do you do? Do you pay Kelsey Mitchell the supermax and bet on your ability to build around 3 expensive players? Or do you trade her now, get a massive haul of assets, and build for sustained success over the next decade? There's no right answer, but you have to pick one. Drop your take in the comments, because I genuinely want to know where you stand on this.